something kind of shocking happened over on CNN. They let an actual leftist on to make the case about the DNC and give her honest feelings. This is great friend of the show, the one and only Nina Turner, speaking with Anderson Cooper.
I mean, the senator was clear. He's a man of his word. He said it in 2016. He said it again in 2020. So the senator is doing what he does. But he created a movement. He was a spark, and the movement is the fire. And so the movement doesn't change. The notion that we need Medicare for all does not change. The notion that we need to legalize cannabis and take it off of Schedule 1 because it has ruined so many lives, particularly African-American lives with the war on drugs. Anderson, that doesn't change. The need to have college for all, that doesn't change. Environmental justice, see, none of those core fundamental issues change because it was never about a personality. It was more about the mission. And so progressives are still on the mission, understanding very clearly that we got two dragons we got to slay. We got to slay the dragon of neo-fascism and slay the dragon of neoliberalism, and the progressive movement is here for it.
You do not hear that message on CNN or MSNBC very often. Although I do want to say Anderson has on Dr. Cornel West every now and again as well, so he hears it from there too. But there's a few things going on there. I mean, first of all, I feel like during this election season, the dissent on the left of the Democratic Party has basically been erased. It's like invisible. You don't hear it on TV because the convention is remote. You don't see it the way that you did last time in 2016. Right. And also you have this dynamic of, a lot of people who supported Bernie Sanders or on the left of the party are ultimately likely to vote for Joe Biden. But that doesn't mean that they're like good to go with this and all on board with everything that is happening. So Nina's pointing out there the failures, very similar to what we pointed out here last week, to actually address any sort of policy issues, the failures to actually talk about the real issues that are facing the American people, and that progressives and those on the left are very much going to continue to fight for.
I think that's right. It's also interesting because you very rarely hear that, and instead what you hear is almost like a propagandistic message towards those disaffected left-wing voters being like, no, you guys need to stop. I kind of caught my eye over the weekend. Obama was quoted in a New Yorker profile of Biden, where he said, Biden and Sanders' goals, quote, not that different from a 40,000-foot level. And I'm like, well, if that 40, they're like, they both agree that everyone should agree that they have health care. I'm like, well, I mean, I guess I have a lot in common with Rand Paul, because we're like, we both think Americans should be better off. It's like that's a meaningless assumption, right? Like a meaningless point of agreement. It's actually all about how you get there whenever you get a little bit closer to the 10,000, 5,000, 2,000 foot level. Then actually you're miles apart from one another. So it's just one of these things where you hear this Obama type of analysis far more than you hear a Nina Turner.
Yes. That dynamic I'm hearing more and more. Rahm Emanuel made similar comments of like, well, Democrats all agree on the goals.
Yes, right.
It's just how you get there. And that's exactly what was echoed. Joe Biden and Senator Harris sat down for their first exclusive joint interview. And that was exactly the talking points that Joe Biden was on as well. Let's take a listen to that.
And I ask you this because you have pressure from the left. You have pressure from the center. You're trying to appeal to Republicans. And so on sort of the evolution on the issues, when you talk about healthcare that you see eye to eye, do you see a day when private insurance would go away as you once proposed?
No, and in fact, my plan when I was running was that we would not eliminate private insurance. And
even though you signed on for Medicare for all?
I signed on to that. I signed on to a number of bills that were about great ideas to fix the problem. I want to fix the problem. And Joe has a plan to fix the problem, and I'm fully supportive of it.
David, I think if I could just interrupt for just a moment. The degree to which we disagreed in the primaries was on tactic. We both believe Medicare, the health care is a right, not a privilege. That's right. And so I don't think we have any disagreement on the basic question of what we have to do as a nation.
First of all, these people are so dishonest. Yeah. I mean, she's like, well, private insurance. I never said private.
I forget what her plan was even called. It was like
she didn't even come up with a catchy, like, Medicare for those who want it, like Pete did, I'm
trying to remember. There were some hilarious ones. Monikers. It was like Medicare for Americans who want it. Yeah.
Well, and let's just briefly recall, Kamala co-sponsored. It's not like she just was like sort of gave some tacit support to it. She was a co-sponsor of Medicare for All. She ran Facebook ads to build her own list about how she was such a champion for Medicare for All. The moment donors were like, we're not down with that, she's like, me neither. What are you talking about? I was never for that. I have my own plan.
She
and
also
it's nothing like Medicare for All.
Remember at that debate, whenever they asked,
but she didn't hear it, Saagar.
Yeah, she was like, I thought you meant eliminating my private health insurance. No, you didn't.
Okay.
That's the biggest lie.
But the piece I want to get to, that we're going to hear this a lot, is that line from Joe Biden about how we agree on the substance. We just disagreed on the tactics, right? And that's how Obama is framing the difference between Bernie and Joe is just on the tactics. What does it mean to support healthcare as a right when the plan that you are pushing for, that, by the way, your own aides are now backing off from as even that being too far, when that leaves millions of people uncovered? Like, in what does it matter if you somewhere in your head or your heart think maybe that healthcare should be a right and not a privilege, if when you have power, you have already told people you are not going to accomplish that goal? So don't fall for this talking point. And we heard it from Obama, heard it from Rahm, now we hear it from Kamala and from Joe. You're going to hear this over and over again. And it's gaslighting, pure and simple, because they may say they support, we support in general the principles of the Green New Deal, but we have a different tactic to get there. No, you don't. No, you don't. When you are admitting up front that you are not going to fight for healthcare to be a right and not a privilege.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be eminently clear. It is very much gaslighting. It's the same way that, the Romney people and others will be like, well, we're all on the same team here, right? They'll be like, we're all working towards the same goal. I'm like, actually, we're not. Like, some of us want to bail people out in the middle of a crisis, and some of you don't. It's actually quite simple.
Right.
So you could say everything you want about prosperity. I believe in actually making somebody prosperous, and you don't. And I think making that more clear and at least acknowledging that difference is more honest to voters than anything else.
Yeah, exactly right. All right, more Rising for you after this.